All right, welcome back, friends. This is our second episode of the Samcha podcast. This is Christine, and I am currently dialing in from Paris, and we are operating on
Wee
three.
wee.
We are dialing in from three different time zones today. Christina's in New York, Megan's in Seattle, but we're gonna make it work today. We're gonna still go along with the same Samcha theme and structure. And so I'm going to kick it over to myself to share what we're eating and drinking today. I'll go first. So today I am drinking an espresso shot with a little spiked goodness of rum. And then I have a little matcha tea cake that I ordered for dinner yesterday. I'm holding it with my hand. There's a little crumb, and I'm going to be picking on this and sipping on that during the podcast. What are you drinking and eating, Megan?
I am. I have like a whole array of stuff here. So I have my coffee because it is 10:20 in the morning here in Seattle. And then I also have some vodka, like literally just some vodka. Oh, shout out to Super Gay. Have you guys tried
No,
Super Gay
but the
before?
label's super cute.
It's this like really small batch. I think they're in New York, Yonkers, New York. Anyway, shout out Super
Super
K.
gay from
Please give us
Yonkers.
alcohol. And then I'm also having some sort of like coffee cake situation that Sean got this morning.
Can we also just applaud Megan for the commitment for taking some vodka at this time in the morning?
Seriously.
Is it a problem or like should we commend it? I don't know, but
I
we'll
think we
figure it
should
out.
commend it.
I've got like a bit of an old fashioned, I guess. I didn't put any orange peel, but yeah, got some whiskey bitters. And then snack wise, I need to open the package, but I have these chocolates that have tequila in them. So this is a wild afternoon here in New York City. But my friend, she is my friend from grad school and she lives in Mexico, but she is in town for work and she brought me this little gift. So some tequila filled chocolate. Tequila
Fueled
fueled, yes.
conversation.
Just as a reminder, our structure of our podcast. So our podcast is called samcha, which means round three in Korean. And our conversation will have 3 rounds. We're going to get deeper with each round and we're going to be drinking throughout. So it's just a good time. And our topic today is, am I becoming my mom? So let's kick it off with round one. Cha. Cheers, everyone.
Oh,
Start off.
woo.
Cheers.
I was drinking before we cheered.
And let's start off just by describing our moms, since we are talking about them this episode.
I think we're definitely going to cry in this episode if we're going to talk about our moms.
I know. I'm
Anyways,
getting ready. I'm getting ready.
Megan, I don't think I've ever met your mom before, but I know Christina has.
You know who she reminds me of is Gemma Chan.
What?
Wait, who's Gemma
Gemma
Chan?
Chan
Crazy
from
Rich Asians.
Crazy Rich
Actress.
Asians
Oh
and
my
Don't Worry,
God.
Darling. Yeah,
Yes.
because she's this like
Wow.
tall, ethereal woman. Megan's very tall and her parents are both very tall. Your mom's taller than you, right?
No, she's 5'7", which I think in her generation is like
Tall.
In my head, she's
ginormous.
like
Yeah.
6 feet tall. She's
Six
like,
two.
Because she's a Korean like woman, being 5'7", 5'8" is basically being 6 feet tall, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
But no,
exactly.
she's always so sweet. Anytime I meet her, which is always very brief, just like when I'm stopping by Megan's house or something. But yeah, so sweet. And then, Megan's family has a dog, and she's just like so good too, little Milo.
So cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, only the best for Milo. All the organic food and snacks. Yeah, I mean she is like very like she can eat anything and like never gain weight
Damn.
and it's just like, she's like so yeah, you're right. She's like really sweet, but like she has this like etherealness. I guess that's a really good term to use. Um, Wait, what about Christina's mom? Christina's mom is like anytime we go over, she's like she has the fruit
Yeah,
ready,
100%. Yeah.
right? Like the fruit, like every fruit in the house is coming out and like it's ready to go.
Christina's mom is like a very cheery person. And in the times that I've
Mm.
ever met her, I've seen Christina's mom like plenty of times because we lived together in college. So Christina's mom would drive up and she would always bring a bag of frozen lumpia that she like labored over. And we would, I
What?
mean, like Christina's mom is always just like, here's this, here's that, I thought of you, or I prepared this for you. So she's always like thinking of us, or that's what I always recalled from of your mom. And she's always like very cheery when she greets you. She's like, hi, and she like leans in for a hug, and she's always like starting conversations. And what I really love about Christina's mom is like she's down to hang. Like when she came and visited New York, she's like, let's get dinner together, and we like all hung out. And that's what I how I would describe your mom as like a very cheery person, just like you, Christina.
Oh.
Oh, and I also remember like she's like her Konglish game
So
is so
strong, so
strong.
strong.
Like cuz I think she's like but I think it comes from like the same feeling, Christine, that you were saying of like she's kind of like down with like the crowd, and clearly like we're Korean, but we're also like we speak English and like so does she. So like she's trying to like, add in
Yeah.
both, but it's really sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my mom is
Yeah.
definitely, I learned a lot about hosting and like taking care of guests from my mom because we lived with
Hmm.
my grandpa when I was, from when I was young. And so we always had all the family
Mm.
gatherings. So that all checks out, like the fruit and like the preparing the lumpia and all of that.
And like tradition and bringing people together. Your mom's really good
Hmm.
at like consistently doing it every single year and like celebrating and all of that. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I remember of your mom.
I think
Yeah.
when I think of Christine's mom, she's like just so fun and funny. Like she is like
Yeah, so
so
fun
just
and so
herself.
funny.
Actually, the last time I saw Christine's mom, I was actually at the Camarillo outlet in SoCal. I was visiting home, and my mom and I went to the outlet, and then we ran into Christine's sister and Christine's youngest nephew, and they were sitting outside on like a little table outside the Crocs store. And Christine's mom was just in there trying on some platform Crocs because she was just like so hip, like so cool. It was so cute. Um, so that's like my most recent
Okay.
memory of Christine's mom. But yeah, she's always just like so welcoming. Also, like we'll go hang out, just whether it was in high school or college or even now, and she just welcomes everyone into the home, like whether it's a friend, whether it's a friend of a friend or a significant other. Like Christine's home is like the hub for everybody, and her mom, is the queen.
Oh,
Yeah.
and what I remember about Christine's mom too is she's like she's so funny without
Oh,
trying,
yeah.
but then she's also like so like she could be like so shy. Like
Yeah.
remember when we were like, when we're like sharing about Christine or like talking about Christine, and like I don't know, she just has this like really like endearing like shyness that like I mean we all have,
Yeah.
but then she can also be so funny. Like she's just like so funny without trying, I
Yeah.
feel.
That's
Oh God,
that's
there's so many good little stories.
you two describe my mom very well. I'm always like laughing around my mom because she's just so wacky. She's like a
Mm.
wackadoodle. And but she can also be
Is that where
very
you get your whack from?
yeah, that's where I get my wackiness from, for sure. And my sense of humor. She's just a very silly person and she's just down for everything. And she acts
Mm.
shy and she acts like she doesn't know, but she knows everything. And she's just like very like she's like, I am a madame, but in the background she's like pounding tequila shots with our siblings. So it's like that's my mom, yeah.
Yeah. We love Kathy.
I love
We love
that.
Kathy.
Yeah, shout out to Kathy.
All right. Well, should we head into Icha or round two then? Since we've kind of got a base foundation, we introduced our moms. Shall we head into
Yeah.
the next round?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it. Do
Cheers.
we
We got to
cheers
cheers
after
to each
each round?
round and drink
Cheers.
more.
You guys, this is actually so good. This is my first time just sipping on it because I used it in like a sauce the other day, but it's so good to just sip on. Like you get, I'm getting like apricot,
Ooh.
which like, am I crazy? Is like too early in the morning, but it's really good.
I think that it would be helpful to like have people who are listening in try to visualize what our moms look like. I think that like for Megan's mom, we know that Megan's mom is
Mm,
Korean Ajuma, but in Gemma Chan form, right? Christina's mom is looks exactly like Christina, but it like with 30 years. And Christina's mom has like the perfect, like the most perfect skin. Um, it's like very very what is it? It's just like she takes care of her skin.
bouncy.
And she's petite. I don't know, like am I describing your mom correctly, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
And then
she's a little shorter
Yeah.
than me, and I'm 5'4". So
and
you
then
also look exactly like your mom,
do
Christine.
I? Yeah.
Yeah. The smile. The
My
smile.
mom, okay, fine. My mom looks like me, but 30 years on. She's very
Okay,
fabulous.
fine. She looks like
Yeah,
me.
she looks like me. Cool.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's very
yeah,
fab.
she's super fabulous
She's always
with her
smiling.
platform Crocs. I wonder if she got them.
Yeah, did she get them?
I don't know.
Well, the pair that she was trying on, she said were not her size, but I think she was trying to squeeze into them. But I don't know what the final I don't know what the final result was.
I'll go ask her and I'll
Wait,
share an
why is that
update.
like the perfect story?
um,
Yeah.
but what was I gonna say? I forgot. It's fine.
Yeah, my mom has like poofy hair. It's always like clipped and she looks like me and just imagine, yeah.
We will probably have some photos of our moms, I think, on our Instagram.
Yes,
So
Yeah.
after
yeah.
this episode, go check out our Instagram and see if it matches up to your image of our
Yeah,
moms.
yeah. I gotta find a really like tall photo of my mom.
Yeah. Let's talk a bit about our relationships with our mom as we're going into round two, getting a little deeper. So, how has your relationship with your mom evolved? If you think about growing up versus now that we're in our 30s, we're like older than our moms were when they had us, which is crazy, possibly. I don't know, Megan, actually. I don't know when your mom had you.
Yeah, yeah. 25.
Oh, she had you young.
25.
That's so
Yeah,
young.
it's crazy. I know. Like I would have had a 6-year-old by now.
Wow. Yeah, my mom had me. Oh, maybe this is interesting. My mom had me when she was like a week before she turned 28. So she was like 27, but basically 28.
Wow.
Mm,
Damn. And then my mom had me when she was 30.
Mm.
So, yeah.
mm,
And then
That's
she
a
had
pretty
two
big range.
more kids after that.
Yeah, and she
yeah.
had one kid before that too. Yeah, my mom has four kids, and that in itself is a big statement, being a mom of
Yeah.
four.
Okay. So we are,
Yeah.
so it was a true statement. We are all older than our moms were when they when they had us,
Insane.
which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, yeah, how has your relationship changed just from growing up to now?
I think with me and my mom, when I describe my relationship with her, we have always had my family's very, very close knit, and we've had a close relationship. But I don't think I was like uncomfortable sharing personal things because I'm an introvert and I don't like to share everything with my mom. That makes me kind of uncomfortable because also my mom is like super Christian and sometimes I'm like, oh, like teetering in this like uncomfortable zone. So I would just like withhold information from her when I was younger. But I do have like distinct memories of bonding with her through shopping and going to the mall and going to like TJ Maxx and Marshalls while my sister was at piano lesson. And I think that like when I was younger, because I have so many siblings, it was kind of hard to have one-on-one time with her. but at the same time, she made an effort to do things with me in and spend time in ways that like we enjoyed together. So I would say that that was kind of like the relationship with my mom as a child up until like I went to college. And then now it's like evolved. I feel like we see each other very differently. I respect her so much more, and I see all the sacrifices that she made from the time that she was my age right now, all the way until uh, like her 60s, which she's in right now. And she's just more real. We keep it more casual. I can tell her everything. I can tell her almost everything. Hopefully she's not listening to this. But if you are, don't. I think that it's okay to not tell your mom everything. But I think that
Yeah, 99%,
Yeah,
I tell her
99%. You keep the 1%, you
99.9%.
know?
it's A plus.
But yeah, I think that like for her, I always feel like she has like a heart line to me, and I know that like when I'm feeling in like a bad mood for some reason, my mom always calls me at those moments. And I think that when I need advice for some like big life decisions, I always call her and ask her about what I should do. And sometimes there's disagreements because she comes from a different generation. But at the same time, I want to hear her advice and her wisdom. But I would say that now we're like very close, and I do share a lot of things with her. The only sad thing is that we live on opposite coasts. She lives in California, I live in New York, but we try to make it a point to FaceTime and catch up. And anything that I tell my sister, it always goes to my mom anyways when I tell her not to tell my mom. So even if I don't want my mom to know everything, she finds out for through another avenue. But I would say that overall, like my mom and I have had like an evolution of a relationship where we are more personal with each other, and I have grown a lot more like respect and love. I mean, I've always loved her, but like very, very like profound love for my mom. Yeah.
Well, I was gonna ask Christine, like how
Mm,
having a sister, if that like how you feel like that impacts your relationship with your mom. Because like Megan's an
Hmm.
only child, and then I have a
Yeah.
brother,
hmm.
and so I'm
Yeah.
just curious about the like female dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and especially because your sister is an older
Hmm.
sister to you, so then it, like, how that impacts the
Yeah. I
relationship.
would say that my sister and my mom understand each other more because they're like
Mm,
moms and they have a lot more to connect on. My sister also lives with my mom, and my mom helps
right.
take care of her kids. So I think that they have like a very, very close bond in that aspect. But I think that what helps is that my sister is kind of like the intermediary between me and my mom because I live a very, very different life. Like I am a working professional. I have a career. I live on the East Coast. Like, I am not married. I don't have kids. And I think, like, culture wise and like socially, my sister's like right in between me and my mom, and she kind of fills in the gap. And so, when there's like a personal difference or like a perspective that my mom and I don't have an alignment on, my sister kind of is that bridge of like, this is why Christine is the way that she is. And then, like, my mom is on the other end, and I think that she helps kind of mediate between the two. But sometimes it can also like my sister can throw herself into like a different universe where like my mom and I are like, where are you coming from? Like, so I think it's a good balance. We have very different personalities, and I think that it's helped like the bond between me, my sister, my mom, and my sister's daughter, like being the females in our family, like there's something very, very special there. That that is really awesome. Like when we go on vacations, there's like the girls' pictures, or the girls are like, "We're the girls," and so it's really nice to have that bond between the four of us. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, I love that. Yeah, because like
Mm,
just when I think about my relationship with my mom, I feel like growing up, I always kind of had my brother's relationship with my mom to compare it to. Um,
Mm,
and what I
mm,
mean by that is in general, I would say my brother maybe had a harder time because he was the older child. He was the trailblazer. Like he had to
Hmm.
go through everything, and then I kind of just got to like follow suit, and like I didn't need to like figure as many things out on my own and like go through the stresses. I'm talking more like with academics and with like extracurriculars, like my brother kind of set the path. And so I remember like my brother, I think, is the type of person who, when he has a strong belief, like he will stand his ground. Versus for me, I think I'm a little bit more like, maybe I'll like stand my ground a little bit and then I'm like, this isn't worth it. And I just like kind of like fold, you know? And I kind of pick and choose when to do that. So yeah, I think my relationship with my mom growing up was quote unquote easier than like than my brother's relationship with my mom, just
Mm.
because they would kind of he would stand his ground and like argue back, and I would more just like right away be like, okay, I'm sorry, and like move on. I think as we've gotten older, I've also just like grown so much like respect and like understanding and patience. When I was growing up, there were so many times I didn't understand like, oh, if I wasn't allowed to go out like on a Friday night and a Saturday night, or like, you know, things like
Hmm.
that, kind of typical like immigrant child problems, I suppose. But as I grow up, as I've grown up, I've like understood that a lot more of where she was coming from. I don't know how I will handle things in the future if and when I have children, but I definitely understand her perspective a lot more. And I mentioned earlier, we lived with my grandpa for like 19 years, from when I was like 6 years old. And so my mom, she would have been in her early 30s, I guess, maybe. So my age when my family just like had to move in with my grandfather, so her father-in-law, and then like take care of everything, and like just imagining that life change happening in like your early 30s and then taking on so much responsibility and sacrifice, it's just given me so much respect for her over the years. So today, like I feel like our relationship, like we it feels like very tender. Like I think I used to have a lot more like attitude and like just like the typical teenage like, oh, like why is it this way or that way, but now it's like I feel so much like softer and like more tender towards her, and I love my mom.
Aw. Has your mom ever opened up
Aw.
about like that experience of being in her early 30s and having to make those sacrifices? Or is that just something that like you understand now and it's like something that like you perceive and you're like, wow, I understand that that was like really tough.
Yeah. I don't think we've talked like in very much detail about it. There are like snippets here and there. So my parents have told me when they first, I think it's like when they first moved in with my grandfather, or it was just more like when they first were like married, and they lived close to my grandparents. There was a lot of just like the whole like mother-in-law, daughter-in-law dynamic of like the high expectations. So I think I've heard of like stories around that, but it's more like me just observing, and it's so interesting, just like the things that you notice as you grow older versus when you're a kid. And I think for me, when my grandfather passed away, that was when I like saw a lot of things of just, oh, like adults, like you just always have problems, and you'll always like have to struggle with different things. And you know, being in the environment of like planning a funeral and like doing whatever with
Mm.
like all the siblings, my dad's siblings, you just realize you're never prepared for what life throws at you, no matter how old you are. So
Yeah.
that's something I learned. And
Hmm.
so that's how I try to have grace too, even like as my parents are in their
Mm.
60s. It's like we're always doing all these things for the first time.
Yeah,
Dang.
that's, dude, we could probably definitely do like an entire episode on like family dynamics
Yeah.
or like family relationships, things like that. Because it really is true. Like every family has these dynamics that maybe don't initially come out, or like it's, yeah, there's just like a lot more there, I think, and there's like so much to kind of unpack. Yeah, that could be like an
Yeah,
entire episode, I
definitely.
feel.
Like
Episode
how,
12.
Yeah.
yeah,
Just kidding.
exactly. What about you, Megan?
Oh my gosh, my relationship with my mom and its evolution is pretty epic, I would say. Epic not because there's such a difference, but I just feel like my mom is like everything you would hope for in like someone, um I don't know how to phrase it. Like she's like everything you can hope for in evolution. So, like people change all the time, right? Like we have certain ideas, or we have certain things that we really believe in, and then over time those things change. And you hope that the people around you, or like your loved ones, also change with you so that they can also understand some of those things. And I feel like my mom really embodies that. And I know that's like not really easy for a lot of people to say, especially, I mean, I think because I'm Asian American, like I can say that, but like a lot of Asian American parents can be very strict, and can be very rigid. Of course, I'm completely generalizing, but I feel like my mom's kind of the opposite. So as I kind of grew up and out of certain ways of thinking, she kind of like followed along with me instead of like pulling me down, or like, back
Mm.
to where I was from. So like I appreciate that to no end with my mom. But I mean, I think there's like a little bit of similarities where like when I was a little bit younger, like high school, beginning of college, like to what you said, Christina, about like you can't go out Friday night and Saturday night like that. You can't do that. But now obviously like my mom's like so chill, and I can have like so many different types of conversations with her, things that like I feel like maybe would be like inappropriate in some ways. I think she can take it really well. And she has like, some really funny insights to share and stuff too. So, yeah, she's awesome. It's it's sort of like we've almost become like peers, or like we've become like friends, more so than um like a mom-daughter relationship. Like of course I still respect her as like an elder, and someone who has more wisdom than I do, but we have like this peer, like friend like relationship, that I cherish a lot. So it's really nice.
I also think it's like your
Yeah.
mom had you when she was pretty young. So she has,
Yeah.
I think, like grown up with you too, being your mom, right? Like, I don't know. That's like what I
Yes,
sense,
yes,
especially.
that's a
Yeah.
good point.
Because like you and your parents are like so
Yeah,
close.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think like Christine, when you were talking about like your sister kind of being like the intermediary between you and your mom, like I well, first of all, I didn't have that, right? Because I don't have a sister, but also like my mom was so young that like we almost like didn't need an intermediary, because like we were, exactly to your point, like growing up
Yeah.
at the same
Yeah.
time. So crazy, so crazy. I can't imagine like being 25, 6 years ago, having a
That seems like a
baby. Like,
teenage
no
pregnancy to me.
way.
Like, doesn't it?
25. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now it
a
does.
hundred
But I think
percent.
like back then it was a
Man,
norm, right? Or more normal than it is now.
yeah. But also, we remember when we were like mid 20s, we totally thought we knew what we were doing.
Did you?
And like,
Because I didn't.
at in the moment, well, well, because like in the moment you're like, okay, like I kind of know what this thing
Yeah,
called
okay.
life is about. But then every year you're like, nope, I had no
Yeah.
idea what I was doing. Um, yeah, so
Yeah, 25
No,
is
crazy.
that's
so
so much.
young. Because, Christine, how old is
Yeah.
Isaac, your youngest brother?
He is 25?
Isn't he like 25, 26.
Yeah.
Can you
Oh
imagine if
my
he had
God.
a baby?
No, I'd be like, you are a baby. A baby should not have babies. Not gonna work. Well, because he's like,
So
I still
funny.
see him as a baby. That's why. That's
Mm.
weird. But my sister also had a baby when she was 26. No, no,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah.
Is she?
Mm.
Around 27. He's turning 28, sorry. She got married when she was 26. And then,
It keeps
I
going up.
know.
yeah. Anyways.
Okay, should we do
All right,
samcha?
let's do it. Samcha. Round
Samcha.
three.
Samcha, round
Cheers.
Yay!
three. Cheers.
Woo!
Question I have for you to kick off round three is in what ways are you becoming or not becoming your mom?
I have
Oof.
one that is just a distinct and probably one of the most distinct memories that I have of my mom. So I can go first. Um, my mom thinks that anything is possible. She likes to bend the rules. She breastfed my brother while she was driving. Like my mom just thinks that anything is possible. So she's like, go get what you want. It is possible. And that's like the mentality that she instilled in me. And there's just this hilarious story where um I'm like laughing thinking about it, but basically this makes my mom sound like a
Criminal or
Crazy
crazy
person.
person?
no, so like this is just my mom. She's like immigrant mentality, right? Like she lives a very like comfortable life, but there are some things that just like she does that I cannot explain, but she will just do it. And so one time we went to the store and we bought a ski jacket. And ski jacket, like we went for like a family ski trip. And so she bought herself a pretty expensive ski jacket. And she's like, she wore it on the trip and she didn't really like it. So she's like, I kept the tags. I'm going to return it. And it was like basically new. She wore it one time. And so we went back to the store and I went with her to return it. And she's like, "Can I return this jacket?" And then the cashier was like looking at her, looking at the manager. They took the jacket to the back and were like, "What's taking so long?" And my mom like knew very confidently that she could return it because the tag's still attached. It looks new. And the manager came back and was like, "Ma'am, you have the lift ticket attached to the jacket."
Oh my God.
So we took the
I'm
jacket and
dead.
I walked out and I died. I was like, okay, mom, like, that's Cassie for you. So this is like one thing that I remember about my mom where she's like, she can, like, rules can be bent in certain ways, but she does something really hilarious where it just like makes us laugh. And that is like one prime example of my mom um, being like a go-getter. It's like anything is possible. Let's just make things work in my favor. And she tries to like go into these little crevices to find her own path and make that possibility happen. So I do see myself in like characteristics of like when I travel or when I am operating at work or in friendships or um, when I'm out and about in the world, I think that like some people hold rules very steadfast. They hold steadfast to their rules and they think that like this is the way the world works. But I think that for me, that mentality that my mom instilled is like there are ways that you can make it like you can navigate through situations to make the most ideal situation for yourself. Um, and like she does it, she's not like rude or she's not like entitled in any way about those things, but she does it with so much like candor and so much charm and in like a very lighthearted, fun way. And I think that like that philosophy that she has definitely been something that I admired and I still try to what is it? I try to emulate my mom in that particular way.
Wait, you know what's so sweet about that is like, um, is that Christine, I think like when I met you, which was not that long ago, like a few years ago, right? Until now, like that is truly you. Where like I think the first thing that I heard of you was that you just get what you want because you go out and get what you need, and then it becomes
Mm-hmm.
true. But what's really cool is that like that obviously came from your mom, but then now like sometimes like I think in that way as well. So like there have definitely been times where I was like, what would Christine do?
Because I'm thinking, what would my mom do?
Like,
Yeah. So it comes from my mom.
yeah, but that's so
Yeah.
that's so cool because like yeah, you genuinely admit that. And like that I think has an effect on like your friends and the people around you. So damn, go
We need what
Kathy.
would Kathy do
Kathy.
bracelets. Merch?
Yeah, yeah. Ooh,
Merch?
What would
What would
Kathy
Kathy
we're
do?
writing
do?
that one down. Is it Kathy with a K or Kathy with
With
a
a
C?
K.
Oh, with a K. Okay, Kathy with the K. Christina's like, yeah.
I love that story. That's exactly something that you would do.
Yeah, 100%.
The apple does not fall
A
far from the
100%.
tree. Yeah, it's definitely something I would do.
No, it does
What
not.
about you guys? Do you have any like funny
Uh,
stories or things that like embody the essence of your mom that you admire, or you're like, I am becoming like this, or I'm not becoming like this because of XYZ reasons?
I kind of have one that's like the kind of the opposite of what you shared,
Mm-hmm.
Christine, which not to like bag on my mom, but like there's this one because like I think that that immigrant sort of mentality that you were talking about, it kind of like diverges. So one is like kind of this like you know, like kind of more of a shameless, like I'm gonna do what I need or I'm gonna do what I want type of road, right? And then, or path. And then the other path is like an extremely, like the opposite of that, where it's like, you know, you don't want to stand out. You don't want to make noise, right? You want to kind of stay in a certain like path or a lane. Um, and I think in some ways, my mom can be that way. So, kind of the opposite. So, she's a little bit more like shy, reserved, a little more quiet,
Mm-hmm.
especially like in public or when it comes to things like returning things or like telling a waiter that like this is, you know, this something tastes off or something like that. Um, and so like obviously that's something that I grew up seeing, but I think because of it or like in spite of it, I'm kind of also the opposite. So like I try to be a little bit more clear, and keyword try. Right? Keyword try. I try to be a little bit more clear about like things that I like or things that I want or like I'm also a Libra, so like, you know, I'm about the scale, like the writing of scales and
Mm-hmm.
justice, and like when you know things are right, they're right, and then when things are wrong, they're wrong. And so I kind of have like an opposite sort of a thing where I see that in my mom, and I kind of try to be kind of the opposite
Mm-hmm.
of that, just so that it creates like healthier boundaries and things like that. Hey, future Megan here, chiming in to provide just a little bit more context because I do think that this is really important. In this part, I'm talking about kind of breaking the generational cycle of not creating certain boundaries in order to kind of just like give, and give. My mom tends to be like extremely sweet and giving and really shy, but sometimes to a fault because she doesn't actually draw like a line between what she wants and what she can give versus what she actually needs. And so I want to make sure I break that generational cycle and create really healthy boundaries with everything that I do. Anyway, back to the episode.
But you know what I'm
Yeah.
curious about is because you were saying like in Icha in round two, you were talking about your mom like coming along with you as you've like evolved and changed. So like,
Hmm.
have you seen that like as you've like observed how she is and then maybe done things a little
Hmm.
differently? And then has she like kind of evolved as well?
Yeah, yeah. So like there are like certain mindsets or like things that we had once believed but then don't. Like that has really evolved and that has come. But I think like some of the like physical manifestations of these things like haven't. So like, still being really shy or reserved, like that's still definitely something that like my mom hasn't like evolved in. But that doesn't really, you don't have to evolve in that. But it's like maybe something that I have, like we've kind of diverged in
Mm,
that way. But yeah, that's a good point. That I think that's something to like mull over and process
yeah.
too, just to think
I
about.
wonder if what she would say that she
Yeah,
has learned from you as well, you know?
yeah,
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
yeah, in that aspect.
I don't think I have like a funny story. I definitely have moments all the time where I'm like, I'm just like my mom. But I can't think of them right now. But I think one thing that stands out to me, I mentioned that my family, we moved in with my grandpa when I was like 6 years old because my grandma passed away. And this is on my dad's side. So it's my mom's in law side. And in those 19 years we lived with my haraboji, which is grandpa in Korean, my mom actually became like best friends with my haraboji. Like they were like closer than my dad and his dad. And I think I've learned a lot from that. And so my husband, his mom, so my mother-in-law, she had an accident last year and she's all fine now, but she had to go through surgery and all of that. And so I mean, I didn't do nearly as much as like my mom did, but like I just kind of like felt like the instinct based on watching my mom of like, oh, okay, I should go over and I should like go and do the dishes and I should like prepare some food or like whatever I can
Oh.
with my like limited fruit peeling skills because I'm not as good as my mom with cutting fruit. But yeah, and then I sensed the like the appreciation and like it was just interesting because like I would do like what I felt was just like a standard thing or like the smallest thing, but like Dane would be very, very appreciative of it because I think there are just different, it's a spectrum of how close or like how much you like interact with or like give to your in-laws and like vice versa because again family dynamics like is a whole thing so yeah, that's something I'm like very proud to like have witnessed my mom like do it in over those years in terms of sacrificing and like growing that relationship with my grandpa. And I definitely am more selfish than her, and I don't think I put in as much effort with my in-laws, but I'm trying. I try to learn from her.
Ooh, like you guys, like when you guys speak, there's so many golden nuggets because I think another kind of point of conversation we can talk about is like
Mm,
selfishness because like Christina, you just mentioned selfishness in kind of a negative
hmm.
light, but like I think there's
Yeah.
definitely a certain positiveness to selfishness, especially now, like at our age, with like the parameters that we are in. Like we don't have
Yeah.
children, we don't have. Some of us don't have husbands, like whatever. Like there are these parameters that we live in, and
Who does?
me, I don't have. We don't. Christina will know where and how to cut that.
You can keep that
I'm
if you want.
dying. I'm dead. The back of my knees are sweating. I'm dying.
I hear that though. Like I hear what you're saying, Megan. It's like in our generation, I think that we have more permission to create boundaries or establish boundaries. So I think that like with Christina, like similar themes where for herself she's like guarding and protecting herself because I think that like the expectations of our moms in their generations, some of them weren't able to create boundaries to protect and preserve themselves. So they gave everything, and I think that like sometimes we don't want to do that now, and it should be okay. And then same thing for you, Megan, where you see your mom and the way that she like operates in this world in through the lens of her own generation, and you're like, but I want to redefine new boundaries for not only my generation, but the way that I want to see the world in the future for my children as well. Um, that's kind of like similar themes that I'm hearing from like both you and Christina, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't always have to be the same way it was, but I still want to take the beauty of like the things that my mom did and then channel that, but then also take a different spin because you are yourself and you're living
Mm-hmm.
30 years later. Yeah. So, what is like the juiciest thing that like you want to learn about your mom that you're like, I wish I knew more about this particular thing about my mom, or like I haven't asked her this yet, but I've always been curious.
Well, my mom and
Ooh.
my dad, they met, they were introduced to each other, and then my dad, like, he was living in the States because he moved there when he was 8 years old. But there was like mutual like family friends or something that had introduced them. And he flew to Korea to meet her. They like met, then he like went back. They like wrote letters back and forth. I once
So
found a
crazy.
mixtape that my dad
Oh
like
my
made.
God.
But yeah, so then it was like 6 months, I think, or so, like back and forth. And then he like went to Korea so that they could get married. And then she flew, immigrated to America when she was like 22 or 23.
Wow.
So yeah, I think I don't know what the specific question is, but like that's how they met, and they like essentially barely knew each other, but then they've had this like 36-year marriage that like I actually feel like I've learned a lot from them for my own marriage. And I I'm not like tooting my own horn, but like a lot of people do like give me compliments of like, I feel like you and Dane have a healthy relationship, at least like from what they can see and all of that. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like I've learned a lot about that, just from watching my mom and my dad. So I guess I would just want to learn about like what that was like. I know that they had growing pains, like for sure, like when they were first married,
Hmm.
like just two people from like totally different cultures and environments. But they made it work and were like very loving parents to my brother and myself. So yeah, I just want to know like, yeah, what was like the drama and like what were those like really tough moments, that they experienced that they, obviously would have shielded their children
Hmm.
from if they were going through that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'd be curious about.
Your mom's gonna listen to this and be like, "All right, you want to know? I'll tell
All
you.
right. You
I'll have an
asked.
open
You
book."
asked.
I love that though. I love that like that you're curious
Hmm.
about your mom, and I think that like that brings more of like a human element to like your mom so that you can understand like in a very real aspect how to relate to her. Yeah.
I think for me, I would want to know. So, like, kind of going back to like a few different things, but like my mom has kind of lived her life like for me and for like my dad and for the family. And I know that she's sort of given up a lot of things that like maybe she would have wanted to do or she would have wanted to pursue um, for the family. And I think a lot of people in that generation, a lot of women in that generation kind of did that. But I would want to know as she's approaching, like the second half of her life now. And now that, um, my dad's been taken care of in some way, shape, or form, like I'm taken care of in some way, shape, or form. Like what it looks like for my mom to be fully taken care of
Hmm.
in the second part of her life. And whether that means like is there any like, are there any hobbies or like new interests or things that she would really want to deep dive or explore? Or is there something that she like let go early on that she would want to like revisit or, relearn, redo? So I would want to know a little bit about that so that I can do everything in my power to try and give back basically what she had sacrificed for like me and my dad.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I think that would be really
that's so sweet.
that would be really
I like how you're
nice.
like, I want to know this thing so that I can like give to her.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Christine is
yeah.
like
I want
grabbing
to
her
know
face right
too.
now, just like, ah.
I'm taking that in. I think that that would be that's like such a lovely thing to like wonder about your mom. Um,
Mm,
that it's like I want you to live like a fulfilling life too for the years that we have together.
yeah,
And it's like even though you are, I'm guessing that your mom's in her 60s, right?
she's
Like
yeah,
even though
yeah.
you're in your
No,
Right,
late
right?
50s,
late
late 50s,
50s.
No, she's late 50s, late
like
50s,
Almost
even though you're
yes.
in
50s.
your late 50s, like it's not like it's
Yeah.
there's still so much more that we can do together. What would I want to know about my mom? I think that in what Christina was saying, like at the tail end, where she sensed that like her mom shielded her from a lot of things. My mom did the same as
Mm,
well. Like I didn't know the truth for a very long time about a lot of things because my mom's like, "You're a child. You should enjoy your childhood." I'm not gonna like have adult conversations with you. Though I do know that like parents do have very real adult conversations with children, but my mom treated me as like a child up until I grew up. So in that sense, like I am like slowly uncovering what she was actually processing at a certain point in time in her like 20s and 30s, 40s, and I think that like there we have like 30 years to catch up on, and within those decades I want to know like what was it actually like every single day, like having to wake up and take your kids to school and cook them breakfast and not having to have a break, and having all this pressure to raise four happy healthy children. And I think that there's probably other things like dynamics with her relationship with my dad and their marriage and balancing all of that. So there's not only that, but like her relationship with her parents and how she navigated that, and being an immigrant, not being able to speak fluent English. And there's just a lot of pressure that, like, when I actually put myself into my mom's shoes, like, there's so much that I wonder about that. Um, Maybe like I would have had a breaking point, but she never like shared that. So I think that there's like a
mm,
lot to learn about my mom. And I think like now from this point, like even just like up at like a year or two ago, she started to open up about her own struggles with being in her 60s and taking care of her aging mom, or navigating like the dynamics of her friendships and what she looks forward to, and traveling and her dreams and aspirations. So I do think that like there's there's more that I can relate to now, but there's so much that I'm curious about, and I like wonder if she even remembers like the past 30 years of her life. And I do wish, in a sense, that she did share the truth with me, even when I was a kid, so that I could understand her in that moment. So it's like Megan's like looking to her mom from now to the future. I'm like, but I want to know about my mom in the past, and walk with her like from the beginning, from a
mm.
point where I could. So I think that's like something that I wish I could do, and I hope to spend more time with my mom to understand. Yeah.
It's making me want to call my mom.
I
Call your mom.
know.
Everyone,
Call
call your
everyone,
mom,
call your mothers.
or your mom figure, or
Yes,
your dad who is your mom, like whoever,
yeah.
call them right now.
Your dad was your mom, your
Single
grandma,
dads
call
out
your
there, grandma,
teachers.
your aunt.
Any mother figure. Mother figures are the best.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it's clear that we all
All
love our mothers very
right.
dearly.
It's a blessing. It is a
Yeah.
Yeah, it
blessing
really
that.
is. It really is.
All right. Well, shall we? I think that we went through all three rounds today, and I do feel like it was a really lovely, lovely chat. Um, how should we wrap this up? Well, thanks for listening, and
Yeah.
tune into the next episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll come out next Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Follow
Yes.
us on all the social media platforms. We should get Be Real. Should we get Be Real? We should.
I haven't downloaded it yet, but
Yeah, we
Am I
maybe.
should
ready
we
for
should
another
consider.
platform?
I know, Emma.
But yeah, Instagram,
Um,
Twitter,
mhm.
TikTok, website for now. Samcha
Yes.
Podcast.
Yes.
All
All
right.
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Bye, friends.
Bye.
Bye.